We'll start with you, Gary.
Hey, Sean. Um, any updates on any other injuries that you weren't able to ascertain, when we spoke with you last?
Yeah, everybody's doing okay. So, other than the Nick Hampton situation, he ended up, like I mentioned, it's a bummer for him getting his pec, but other than that, just your typical bumps and bruises. So we should be okay.
So, how does it feel to, wake up today and you're in first place in the NFC West?
It doesn't change anything that we've talked about for the last handful of weeks. Unless the season ended today, it's all just temporary. And we've got to continue to be one day at a time, one moment at a time, and one game at a time, like what we've been. I think it's a testament to the group to be able to handle some of the things that they've handled over the last few weeks, but all of it is not relevant unless we continue to do something about it. And the only thing that we can do is have a great week of preparation against a very challenging opponent who we have tremendous respect for.
I think there's less than an hour left before Odell Beckham would clear waivers. If he does clear waivers, will you guys pursue him?
That's not something that we've talked about yet. The respect that I have for him, but that hasn't been something that we've discussed, Gary.
And have you yet kicked the tires on Aaron Donald returning? And if not, when would you guys do that?
Gary, I have a really special relationship with Aaron. And if that was ever, he has done so much and he puts so much into everything. I would almost feel disrespectful reaching out to him just based on the principles and knowing him the way that I do. If that was something that he got interested in, then that would obviously be something that you're always open to. But I almost feel like it would be disrespectful to broach that subject with him just based on our conversations and the clarity and, the completedness that he felt like he had when he stepped away when he did. And I don't think there's anything but positive vibes. And I don't think he could have any regrets based on the way he handled every single day of his career. And I know he's really happy doing the things that he's doing right now. And he stays up with what we're doing, and he still physically looks like he could go do some really special stuff on the field, but that wouldn't be something that would come up out of respect for him and our relationship.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Adam.
Hey, Sean, with Cobie Durant, do you expect him to be able to get back to practice this week?
Yeah, he's had some good positive checkups. We'll wait to clear one last little hurdle, and he is trending in a direction that looks positive as it relates to his game status and ability to practice this week.
And with Tyler, are you still using this week to determine just how many snaps he's ready for?
Oh yeah, we've got to get the plan together, figure out what that looks like, what's the best way to utilize that group as a whole. Obviously, it's exciting to have the opportunity to get him back and what he means to our football team and what he can provide from a production, but also just, the presence of being out there. But those are things that we'll definitely have to discuss and be smart about, what does it look like in terms of a target snap count and how is he continuing to progress, with his workloads and things of that nature.
For you guys, all 5 drafted rookies who've contributed this year are guys who got the extra COVID year in school. You've talked about how this year's college free agents showed up as pros already. I'm curious, over the past couple cycles, how much of a correlation have you seen between that extra COVID year and the pro readiness of college free agents?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's a case by case. I think certainly some of those guys represent that. I also think it's a reflection of the makeup. And so obviously, as you just gain experience, I do believe repetition and experience is the mother of learning. But then there's also a very specific type of makeup that you're looking for. And I think we've been more disciplined. I think we've been pretty good about identifying, our kinds of guys. And so I think it's a combination of both. But certainly, you do come across some guys that are still relatively young in age, but mature beyond their years just based on their makeup and some of the experiences that they've accumulated.
Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome.
Sarah.
Sean, after the Eagles game, when we talked to you that Tuesday, you referenced how there were 6 games guaranteed left, and you said 39 days. It sounds like you gave a speech to the team about that. When did that take place?
It took place, that the Wednesday that we got back from there. And really, you're always making sure that there's authentic ways of trying to, reach the guys and be able to create a perspective and an understanding of, what a blessing it is to have the opportunities that these guys have earned in regards to playing in the NFL and getting an opportunity to go compete with some of these, challenges that occur on a weekly basis. And the same thing with how we want to try to coach and influence and affect positive change. And so that was 39 days ago. And when we come back Wednesday, it'll be 18.
Matthew said that kind of galvanized the team. He said, and Kyron said it kind of just put it in perspective and he saw it as a challenge. How did you see the team respond now the last 3 games since that?
I've seen them consistently respond, Sarah. It's about these players have done such a great job of intentionally approaching every single day and going to swing and shoot their shot when we've gotten these, chances in these precious 3-hour windows. And I think the coaches have done a really nice job of being steady as well. And so, our goal is to continue to improve. It is something you don't take for granted, playing meaningful football in the month of December. We've got to continue to improve. And I'm a big believer that you don't stay the same. You either get better, you get worse. I think there's been areas of improvement. There'll always be things that we can continuously move forward with. You don't take them for granted and then focus on some things that we do need to improve to be the best that we can possibly be. And maximize the opportunities that we do have. And that's going to be our continued focus and concentration, especially as it relates to this week and approaching the op we have against the Jets.
I know when we asked you during the bye week, you guys were 1-4. Like, can you replicate what you did the year before? And you said, well, it's a different team. They haven't earned that right to, I guess, believe that and just know that they could do that. But did it help knowing that you guys had done that the year before with some of the guys, just the belief that you're not out of it, even in last place in the division at that point?
I think guys would be better equipped to answer that. I think what you do realize is that you just put your head down and try to be the best you can in the current circumstances, one day at a time. Whatever happened before, all you can do is the next right thing. And being able to talk to yourself, not listen to yourself, be inside out more than you're outside in. When there's a lot of challenges that run counterintuitive to that, I think that is important. But we've got some mentally tough people. We've got some resilient people. I think we have improved on those areas throughout the season because if you use these experiences to callous you in the right way, but we've got to continue to do that. It's about, moving forward. It is cool that these guys have put themselves in a position, and I think that's by being one day at a time, not focusing on things that we can't control, but focusing on the things that we can control and ultimately making sure that with the approach that we have on a daily basis, we have no regrets when we look back on this with the stuff that we can't control.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jordan.
Hey, Sean, last year you were pretty open about wanting to self-reflect on some of the situational management. You guys went out and hired Stretch, and what was your study of that like for yourself? And I guess, what did you take away from that self-scout and then your early interactions with Stretch?
Yeah, I think ultimately it's always about, surrounding yourself with good people that have a clarity of a vision and how things want to go, how you want to be able to operate. Obviously a lot of the, the timeout usage, which is a little bit more clear cut. You've seen some of the, the decisions on 4th down, but I think those are very fluid based on the week, the flow of the game. There are some opportunities that I certainly needed to be better, and that'll all be ongoing as it relates to making sure that you understand how precious, those second half timeouts are in particular, and then the clarity of exactly how we want to play things out. I thought defensively the other night, I thought Chris, our staff, and obviously Stretch is always a part of that. I thought we handled that really well against the 49ers. It seems like these situations, arise very frequently at the end of the half or the end of the game, particularly in those 2-minute situations. But Stretch has been great. I think the thing that I've appreciated the most, Jordan, is there's a decisiveness and a clarity that he has in terms of, what does it look like on a weekly basis? He's very in tune with what goes on all 3 phases, and then how that affects the way we want to try to play that game. And he's been a big part of it. And I think his steady, calm demeanor on game day has been a big benefit. I think we've been big benefactors of having him on our staff, and I think he's done an excellent job.
On that, over the last 2 games, especially in a short week, but narrow wins both times, and lots of very small, like minutia at the, like you said, at the end of half and end of game scenarios where situational management was crucial. Again, not just third or fourth down decision making, but all of those things, time clock, you know, when they had less men on the field, those types, recognizing how many seconds were on the clock, those types of things. I guess I wonder how, if you can think of a couple examples of how everything that you have you guys have talked about and practiced over this last year, if there is any ways that those things have manifested regularly in games or even in the last two.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look no further than just our last game, I thought it was really well done. Like I said, to our defensive staff, and Stretch is a part of that because he's on this coaching staff of how did we want to play? Use the timeout. Are they going to come out? Are they going to go a Hail Mary? Are they going to try to get a chunk and get out of bounds? We were in a defense that was able to kind of accommodate both areas with 11 seconds left. And then when they did get to the Hail Mary where there was 6 seconds left, being able to come after them with 5-man rush and ultimately get the sack while still being sticky on the 4 eligibles that they did release in the pattern and still having 2 deep defenders. And so that was a great example of being able to close the game out the other day. Just some of the recommendations, even against the Bills, whether it's, all right, do you want to, make a move at the end of the first half, or do we want to make sure that we're smart about this, knowing that we're getting the ball coming out of the second half? And I just think there's numerous instances that I know you're very in tune with, but those are the ones that come to mind that were key and critical for us to be able to finish the game the other night, specifically against the Niners.
Thanks. And then last for me, as a head coach, you're in charge of managing everybody, and I guess sometimes it can seem like you're supposed to already know everything in order to instruct and install. So I guess what is it like for you to not only recognize, but then also explore areas where maybe you want to get better, you want to know more, you want more information, you want different processes?
Well, I think the biggest thing that I would say is that just because you're in a leadership role doesn't mean you have to have the answers to everything. I think what you continue to realize is when you surround yourself with really good people that you can empower them, that actually alleviates the load on you, and you don't feel like you have to do everything when you are surrounded with so many people that you can trust. Now, you want to be able to trust, but also verify. And I think there is a responsibility to understand it, but also not be afraid to say, I don't know. This is maybe a little bit outside of my area of expertise, and let me make sure that I'm spending time to get up to speed so that I can have accountability to our staff, but also to our football team, but not be afraid to say, I don't know, let's continue to learn that. And so I think in a lot of instances, Jordan, just being able to trust more, make sure that everybody has a role and a responsibility that's key and critical, has actually lessened the load and allowed you to, make sure that everybody knows how important their job is, and trust, but verify.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Wyatt.
Hey, Sean. People who are on the team obviously see how big a personality Steve Avila has and how much joy he brings to everything. Can you just describe what's special about him as a person and the effect that has in the locker room?
I think the things that you see are consistent with who he is on a daily basis. I think that consistency leads to trust. The guy loves football. He loves competing, and he's just got a great way about himself. He's a really good person. He's very responsive, in terms of, he's engaged and he's very present with you when he's with you. And he's just got a heart for people, and he sure has rare ability to be able to move and control his body and do some of the different things that are required of an offensive lineman. And I think he's only getting better as he accumulates experience. You forget he's a second-year player. He did some really incredible things as a rookie, had the knee injury that set him back. And I think he's learning how to, consistently develop habits that are going to allow him to be the best player he's capable of being. And he's accumulating really beneficial experiences in the midst of it. But when he's at his best is when you see that joy exuded with how he's playing, and that's who he is on and off the field. And I think that consistency is key.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Stu, and then we'll wrap up with Dennis.
Hey, Sean, I wanted to ask you about Emmanuel Forbes. Obviously, you've been pretty clear that you guys aren't going to rush him, but how did you balance potentially wanting to get him out there last week versus the health situation at corner and maybe turning to Akello instead in order to stick with that plan for me?
Yeah, I think Akello has done a great job for our team each of the last couple of years. I thought he played great the other night. He's kind of answered the bell. And so it is great to be able to have Emmanuel continuously getting up to speed behind the scenes with Aubrey, but we like the depth that we have at corner. Obviously, Cobie Durant's had a good year. Darius Williams, we know what he's capable of, but I thought both Darius and Akello played as well from the corner position as we've had the other night, slowing down a really good offense that can beat you in a variety of ways. I thought really our secondary as a whole was as sticky in coverage, had as many pass breakups, and then obviously Darius's interception was a turning point in the game. And then offensively, those guys were able to convert that into a field goal and kind of run the rest of the game out with 20 seconds left there.
And then just as a quick follow-up, what does that plan for Emmanuel look like? I mean, ideally, would you like to build him up to a point where he can contribute to that depth, or how do you look at that right now?
I think you just get him up to speed as quickly as possible. And I think we've been fortunately relatively, healthy with the exception of the Cobie being out last week. The goal is for him to just continuously improve, continuously get up to speed. And if his number is called, then he'll be ready to go. But like what we've seen from that group of guys that we've kind of talked about. And I do like the way that Emmanuel goes about his business. It's challenging too, because even last week, you have the Buffalo week of preparation, but then really you're not practicing as it leads into that Thursday game. So there was some limited opportunities to continuously get the physical evaluation, if you will, that you're normally accustomed to when you have your, normal allotted time of preparation, not leading into a Thursday game.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You got it.
Dennis.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Dennis?
Doing great. Coach, what has made Kobie Turner such a disruptive force on the defensive line?
I think the consistent energy and an edge that he plays with. I think the way that he goes about his work. He's obviously got great hands. I think he's a lot twitchier in his lower half than people give him credit for, and thought it was great for him to be able to make two critical plays, with those sacks. But he's made a bunch of other plays that has really done a great job. He's really leading the way. It's his preparation, it's his work ethic, and then obviously he's been blessed with great ability. But I think he's the epitome of a guy that has that growth mindset, continuously improves, continuously affects and influences positive change with his teammates. And I would say those are a couple of the things that stand out to me, Dennis.
And as a follow-up, are you surprised at the speed of the development of your younger defensive players, particularly on the defensive line?
I think it's a credit to those guys and to the coaches, and then some of the veteran leaders or guys that have a little bit more experience that are leading. So, we've talked about it's a race to maturity, and I think a lot of guys have continuously grown. I think they've used a lot of the experience they've accumulated to get better, to build on some positive experiences. These seasons can be long and the days can be long, but these guys, they love football. They love what this preparation entails. They really are process and, they're process oriented. I think that's been a key factor. And then I think we've got great coaches that are doing an excellent job developing them. When you look at Gift Smith and AC Carter and Joe Caniglio, and then obviously, Chris doing an excellent job as well.
Thank you, Coach.
You're welcome.
Coach, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, guys.